Hello students, this is your economics teacher INR. I hope you are well and utilizing the time wisely.
Today you are going to revise chapter 3 theories of employment and income and chapter 4 consumption and investment functions. 2 marks, 3 marks. Students, please watch this video very carefully till the end. First we will revise chapter 3 theories of employment and income, 2 marks and 3 marks. Question number 1. Define full employment. Full employment refers to a situation in which every able-bodied person who is willing to work at a prevailing wage rate is employed. In other words, full employment means that persons who are willing to work and able to work must have employment or a job. In other words, full employment refers to a situation in which all the workers who are capable of working and willing to work get an employment at reasonable wages. It does not imply that all adults have jobs. Question number 2. What is the main features of rural unemployment? The major features of rural unemployment is the existence of unemployment in the form of disguised unemployment and seasonal unemployment. Question number 3. What is effective demand? Effective demand denotes money actually spent by the people on product of industry. The money which entrepreneur receive is paid in the form of rent, wages, interest and profits. Therefore, effective demand equals national income. In other words, effective demand is the ability and willingness to spend by individual, firms and the government. The level of output produced and hence the level of employment depends on the level of total spending in the economy. Question number 4. List out the assumptions of J.P. Say's law of market. First assumption, no single buyer or seller of commodity or an input can affect price. Second, full employment. Third, peoples are motivated by self-interest and self-interest determines economic decisions. Question number 5. What are the components of aggregate supply? There are 4 components of aggregate supply. First, aggregate consumption expenditure. Second, aggregate private savings. Third, net tax payments. Fourth, personal transfer payments to the foreigners. Examples, donation to international relief effort. Question number 6. Write short note on the implications of J.P. Say law of market. There are 5 implications of J.P. Say's law of market. First, there is no possibility for overproduction or unemployment. Second, if there exist unutilized resources in the economy, it is profitable to employ them up to the point of full employment. Third, an automatic price mechanism operates in the economy. There is no need for government intervention. Fourth, interest flexibility brings about equality between savings and investment. Fifth, money performs only the medium of exchange function in the economy as people will not hold idle money. Question number 7. Explain Gein's theory in the form of flow chart. Student, see the flow chart. This flow chart explains Gein's theory of income determination. Essence of Gein's theory of income and employment. Effective demand is equal to output is equal to income is equal to employment. Effective demand or output or income or employment can be classified into 2 major heads. First, aggregate supply function. Second, aggregate demand function. We take only aggregate demand function. Aggregate demand function divide into 2 major title. One is consumption function, second investment function. Consumption function can be classified into 2 major title. One is size of income. Second, propensity to consume or marginal propensity to consume. Investment function can be classified into 2 major heads. One is marginal efficiency of capital. Second, rate of interest. Marginal efficiency of capital can be classified into 2 major topics: supply price of capital and prospective yield from capital. Rate of interest can be classified into 2 major heads: liquidity preference of the public and supply of money in the economy. Liquidity preference of public can be classified into 3 major titles. One is a transaction motive, precautionary motive and speculative motive. Then question number 8. Write any 5 differences between Keynesianism and classism. Students, Take the page number 46. Comparison of classism and Ginshianism. Ginshianism and classism. First, Ginshianism is refers to short run equilibrium. Classism is refers to long run equilibrium. Second, saving is a vice. Classism is saving is social virtue. Third, the functions of money is a medium of exchange on the one side and a store of value on the other side. Third, the function of money is to act as a medium of exchange. Fourth, macro approach to national problem, micro foundation to macro problems. Fifth, state intervention is advocated, champions of laissez-faire policy. Next, you are going to revise chapter 4, consumption and investment function, 2 marks and 3 marks. Question number 9. What is consumption function? The consumption function or propensity to consume refers to income consumption relationship. It is a functional relationship between two aggregates, viz. Total consumption and cross national income. In other words, the term consumption function explains the relationship between income and consumption. A function is linked between two or more variables. The proportion of income spent on actual consumption at a different level of income is called propensity to consume. Question number 10. Define marginal propensity to consume. The marginal propensity to consume may be defined as the ratio of the change in the consumption to the change in income. Algebraically, it may be expressed as under MPC is equal to delta C by delta Y, where delta C is equal to change in consumption, delta Y is equal to change in income. MPC is positive but less than the unity. Question number 11. Define marginal propensity to save. Marginal propensity to save is the ratio of change in saving to a change in income. Marginal propensity to save is obtained by dividing change in saving by change in income. It can be expressed algebraically as MPS is equal to delta S by delta Y. Delta S is equal to change in saving, delta Y is equal to change in income. Since MPC plus MPS is equal to 1, MPS is equal to 1 minus MPC and MPC is equal to 1 minus MPS. Question number 12. Differentiate between autonomous and induced investment. Autonomous investment and induced investment. Autonomous investment is independent. Induced investment is planned. Autonomous investment is income inelastic. Induced investment is income inelastic. Third, welfare motive. Induced investment is profit motive. Question number 13. Define multiplier. The concept of multiplier was first developed by R.F. Gahn in terms of employment. J.M. Keynes redefined it as investment multiplier. The multiplier is defined as the ratio of change in national income to change in investment. If delta I stands for increase in investment and delta Y stands for resultant increase in income, the multiplier K is equal to delta Y by delta I. Since delta Y results from delta I, the multiplier is called investment multiplier. Question number 14. State the concept of super multiplier. The super multiplier is greater than simple multiplier, which includes only autonomous investment and no induced investment, while super multiplier includes induced investment. In other words, the combined effect of interaction of multiplier and accelerator. Question number 15. Define accelerator. Accelerator is the ratio of change in induced investment to change in consumption, or a technical relationship between change in capital stock and change in level of output. That's all for today. We will continue in the next class. Finish the assignment by clicking the link below.